This is KSUT Public Radio. Regional news is next. High temperatures and a lack of snow made for a lackluster winter sports season, and as the drought conditions across our region continue, they're now hitting summer sports. For the Mountain West News Bureau, Bert Johnson brings us this feature story from the Sierra Nevada near Reno.
Late last month, on the first cool evening in a while, the sunset cast long shadows over Keystone Canyon. It was the perfect time for an after-work spin. Will Boyer is here on his mountain bike. On this day, the trails are still in good shape. But once they bake in the sun for a few weeks, he says, the dirt gets loose and harder to ride.
Sometime during the summer, you get to that one day where you're out and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm just riding through a trench of dust.
And after a season that saw the lowest snowpack on record, these dusty conditions could be right around the corner.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we get some monsoon moisture coming in.
As climate change intensifies, studies show that winters are warming faster than other seasons. The impact on skiing and snowboarding is obvious. Less snow means less time on the slopes. But winter warming also has year-round effects.
The winter was terrible from a water resource perspective, from a snow perspective.
Nevada state climatologist Baker Perry says last year, the western U.S. saw what's called a snow drought, when high temperatures cause more precipitation to fall as rain. That's led to critically dry conditions across the state.
It's not just the snow drought that we're coming off of. It's not just the record warmth in the winter that we experience. It's not just the record warmth in March, but all of these things compound.
According to Curtis Johnson, though, having a dry winter isn't all bad.
This is one of my favorite tools, is a brush saw. Two people can do in about 2 hours what it would take a crew of about 8 to do by hand.
Johnson is president of the Biggest Little Trail Stewardship. The nonprofit maintains trails around the Truckee Meadows, including Peavine Peak's extensive single-track network. Johnson says the ideal trail building conditions usually happen in the spring and fall.
Right now, you bring that dry soil back into the trail, the people ride through it or walk through it, and just poof, it's gone.
Last year's dry conditions meant more time to work on trails. But if the hills keep drying out, they could lose some days later in the year.
If it gets like a red flag warning, you can't use the brush saws and things like that.
Officials issue red flag warnings when temperatures are high, humidity is low, and winds are strong. It's a dangerous combination that drives up the risk of large fires and smoky skies that can linger for weeks. That was the case in 2022, when the mosquito fire burned more than 76,000 acres west of Lake Tahoe. Boyer says on hot days, he hits the trail early. But if the air quality's bad, he can't ride at all.
Oh man, brutal topic. I hate the smoke, actually. And when there was like the couple smoky years in a row, I was actually even considering if Reno was a place that I would want to live long term.
It's still yet to be seen if this will be another catastrophic fire year. Perry says the snow drought means the risk is elevated, but El Niño conditions could also bring heavy rain. Weather in the eastern Sierra is notoriously hard to predict, but if that pattern develops, it could mean trail users like Boyer get what they want.
Yeah, I think the perfect condition is not immediately after rain. It's like after the rain and then 10 other people rode the trail. Kind of just like packs it perfectly. And it's just really fast. Brown pow, as some people call it.
For now, though, he'll keep chasing the stoke, even if it gets a little dustier than he'd like.
And that was Bert Johnson for the Mountain West News Bureau. We continue with another story from the Mountain West News Bureau. Federal wildlife officials are loosening protections for a fish native to the Colorado River, and Alex Hager reports that officials moved the razorback sucker from endangered status to threatened status.
The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service says it made the change because the razorback sucker is no longer in danger of extinction. The move suggests progress in protecting the fish, but environmentalists say otherwise. Taylor McKinnon with the Center for Biological Diversity says because of invasive species eating their young, the natives still can't do one critical thing: reproduce in the wild.
We don't have that yet. So in rendering this decision, they've also disregarded their own criteria for downlisting from endangered to threatened.
The Arizona Game and Fish Department supports the downlisting and says it remains committed to giving the razorback sucker the protection it needs going forward. Alex Hager, Phoenix.
A video of a bison in Yellowstone National Park tossing a tourist 8 feet into the air went viral earlier this month. Now it's helping doctors identify the man's injuries. For the Mountain West News Bureau, Teal Davis brings us the story.
Grandfather Carl McDaniel is airborne and spinning after being struck by a bison in the video. Moments before being hit, McDaniel directed his 13-year-old grandson to run in the opposite direction. The grandfather dodged the bison several times by weaving through nearby trees. Montana photographer Mike McLeod filmed the encounter. He says the pair were about 120 yards from the animal. The National Park Service recommends visitors maintain a minimum of 25 yards from bison.
He was trying to do the right thing, and it was very important to him.
McLeod says doctors used the video to help identify potential injuries and how McDaniel landed. The footage also reassured McDaniel, despite the poor outcome, he acted appropriately during the encounter. The grandfather is now recovering from 4 breaks in his femur in a Montana hospital. I'm Teal Davis.
Cyclosporesis is a diarrhea-producing illness caused by a microscopic parasite, and it's spreading across the southwest region. As the Mountain West News Bureau's Jenny Kinsey reports, Colorado is among the states tracking the outbreak.
Colorado has the most cases, 178. Other states in our region have fewer, 19 in Arizona, and just a handful in Idaho, New Mexico, Nevada, and Wyoming. Health officials attribute most of the illnesses to out-of-state travel. Sarah Shrum Davis is with the New Mexico Department of Health, which confirmed 5 cases. Davis says those cases were likely caused by contaminated produce.
We recommend that people wash their produce prior to consuming it.
The Food and Drug Administration says the source of the outbreak is unknown. However, it stands by a recent recommendation not to eat iceberg lettuce grown or processed by a commercial farm in New Mexico, which supplied Taco Bells in Indiana, Kentucky, Michigan, Ohio, and West Virginia. Taco Bell has said it is no longer using that lettuce, according to NPR. For the Mountain West News Bureau, I'm Jenny Kinsey in Albuquerque.
Colorado's primary election this year drew stronger turnout than in years past. For the Colorado Capital News Alliance, Kyle McKinnon reports election officials are now looking ahead to November and are asking voters not to wait until the last minute.
More than 1.4 million ballots were cast statewide in Colorado's June primary. That's about 36% of active registered voters. More ballots were cast than in both the 2024 primary and the previous 2 midterm cycles. In Larimer County, turnout was about 37%. County Clerk Tina Harris says the election ran smoothly, but many voters waited too long to cast their ballots.
About 50% of the ballots that we received was received on Election Day. And about 25,000 were after 7 p.m.
Harris says late returns slow down results in close races, and in some cases, ballots can't be counted. She plans to do more outreach ahead of the November general election to encourage earlier returns and explain how ballots are collected and counted.
That was Kyle McKinnon reporting for the Colorado Capital News Alliance. Support for local and regional news on KSUT Public Radio is provided by the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority.
Support for public policy reporting comes from the Gay and Lesbian Fund for Colorado, promoting programs designed to ensure all Coloradans have the same opportunity to thrive. More information is online at gayandlesbianfund.org.